Welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV drama series. Today's drama story is about the good old raiding days. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Me and many of my IRL friends joined Final Fantasy XIV back during the closed beta of ARR. We had a blast playing the game and quickly bought the game at launch and decided this was going to be our MMO home. We jumped through many MMOs and something in Final Fantasy XIV just clicked and we stayed. We went through tons of content together and used Skype voice chat since Discord hadn't existed yet. This was a long time ago. Okay, chat, how long ago? When was Discord made? 5 years ago? Oh, Discord had to have been made 5 years ago. Yeah, 2015, because that's when I made it. 7 of us started raiding together when the Binding Coil came out. It was a blast, but we always had to pug a second tank. It was all very fun, but it slowly became clear that some of our friends really had some anger issues. Periodically, they would yell at themselves in the call, or accuse someone else of killing them, etc. This wasn't just a single person, but actually 3 people. I think some of us still experiences that till this day with certain members. There's some people in raiding that just get so angry. Regardless, we went on to the second coil with our friends, promising to self-reflect and adjust their mentality since we were all learning and working together. But yeah, there's also push to talk. Well, actually, your push to talk is a Discord thing. Skype does not have push to talk. We eventually made an FC together and appointed one of our friends as the FC leader. They were the most savvy when it came to the game and were always welcoming to the pugs, so it made sense at the time. We eventually got a completely new member to our raiding party, and they volunteered to join the FC. This was during the time before PFs, so it seemed more convenient to have a static within the same FC. Oh my god! A world without PF? In Final Fantasy XIV, what was that like? That would have been so hard to make statics and stuff. Hell. It was hell back then. Okay, so they said this was during the time before PFs, so it seemed more convenient to have a static within the same FC. Yeah, that makes sense to have statics within the same FC back then. It quickly turns out this new member also had their fair share of issues. If I were to guess, it was because of their mental maturity compared to the rest of us. They were clearly a younger teenager, while the majority of us were hitting 20.
Bruh.
That line is so funny because it's like, bro, they were so young and we're about to hit 20. Like, okay, you're all young. You're all young here. I wouldn't even say it's a maturity thing. I just think this is just how the person was. So we all started raiding together, and day 1 we saw issues. We were all learning the fight, and guides weren't as mainstream back then as they are now. Dude! Imagine raiding back then, like, there were no guides or anything. That is so cool. It's really mainstream now and how fast it is. It's so much faster to learn, like, fights these days with, like, YouTube videos and all the players playing it. And all the Discords make it helpful, and how to learn your job. It's so much easier now. So we really had to learn the fights hands-on. This new member would often scream at our healers because they'd get one shot on a TB without their stance on. My partner was our main healer, and another friend was the off healer. The tank screaming and constant yelling was clearly getting to my partner, and we needed a 30-minute break to chill out. Our other healer was also getting fed up by the tank's behavior and pulled them into a private call to chill them out. I am still not privy to what happened there, but it must have been somewhat resolved since we continued raiding soon after. This whole scenario became a routine for our static while raiding over the coming months. During that, our unfortunate new member became close with our off healer and their inner circle of friends. This was all cool since we often did other stuff on our own, and they seemed pretty level-headed aside from raiding. What we didn't know mainly my partner and I, was that they were spreading weird, hostile rumors of us. I was accosted by our off-healer, who was a close friend at the time. I was told that I didn't need to be so rude to our new member, and that I needed to stop harassing them on Skype. I didn't even have the person friended on Skype, so I was baffled. But I was not one to let things fester, especially when they were blatant lies. So I shared my screen to give proof that I hadn't been messaging them. Everything seemed well, but man, did that make me feel sus of them. These accusations continued on for months against my partner and I, who both knew and had a ton of evidence against these lies every time it popped up. Maybe I should have put my foot down sooner, in hindsight, but eventually this led to a crippling of our FC, an actual friend group. I was tired of these lies, and we spoke privately about them. The person was so nervous and said that they didn't say any of it. I didn't yell. There was no point to it, and we had to be professional. There was also a pragmatic part of me that said, record this message in case they say something that I can't otherwise prove. So I did. So he recorded it. Apparently, this person had the friends that weren't speaking to me much wrapped around their fingers. I logged on one morning to do my dailies and noticed that 5 people had left the FC. It was a huge shocker, and I tried to get hold of these friends to figure out what happened. I eventually got hold of one, and the most they could offer was that I was somehow fabricating those lies because they didn't match with the evidence the tank gave. I asked to discuss this further and actually show my time-stamped evidence, but they didn't want to hear any of it. They cut communications with me and my partner, and we were baffled. The few who remained in our FC eventually followed them all solely because they still had a working static. It was nothing personal, but damn, it sure felt like it. In just a few weeks, my friends had decided to burn bridges because this person decided to lie about us. I eventually became the FC leader and chose to disband it because there was no point to it. Whatever happiness there was now filled with anger, sadness, and betrayal. It probably didn't help that since all my friends were so tied to Final Fantasy XIV, they didn't have the social graces to even attempt contacting me IRL. My partner and I decided to be more active and go out more to get our minds off this stupidity during the latter half of ARR. We barely played, and honestly, sometimes just logging in would get to the point of tears. We needed a real break from the game, and if it wasn't for Heavensward being announced, we would have quit the game entirely. The Epilogue. After all that, it turned out the person was picking other people to target in their newly established FC. It got to the point that one friend, one of the ones that left purely for static reasons, was fed up and quit that FC entirely. We established some contact and mainly hung outside of the game. Now this was patch 3.2, I believe, so quite a bit of time after the whole FC destruction. But I showed that friend the voice chat recording I kept. They were baffled because they remembered this whole event in a different light. More than once, they shit-talked me about this event to each other because of the blatant lies the person gave everyone. I'm not sure what happened, but that friend had the courage to really dig into that off-tank. I was told that the FC disbanded, and some months later, the person left for the Japanese data center, Tonberry, I think, and far from us in NA. But the damage was done. Our off-healer, really being the only one to approach me on this, apologized for not believing me in the first place. My other 2 former friends never reached out to me. I understand that they had anxiety issues and perhaps they had assumed that I hated their guts. But honestly, I was not going to be the one to reach out. They did too much damage, and knowing how much shit they were talking about me, I realized I didn't need that in my life going forward. Still, if they want to reach out, I'm open to it. It's been years at this point, so I'm not going to hold such a deep grudge. But at the same time, I've moved on, made other friends, went to college, built a casual FC, stuck to pugging savages, and my life with my partner has been far better for it. The end. I kind of feel bad that what happened to him, because it's like someone was basically just talking shit about him in the friend group or in the within the static, and everyone else believed that. Why is it so fast for people to believe one side of the story? Why don't people ever hear the other side? That's what I wonder. That's what I would do. Like, if I heard something, I would be like, I'd just probably ask them myself, like, what happened? So you just have at least two perspectives and then just leave it at that. But yeah, it sounds like no one really talked to him. And then when one person did, it was much later, and they were like, my bad, bro. Sorry for not talking to you back then. Majority of people follow. Yeah, that's true too. So like, if there's one person stirring it up and telling everyone, and then like these people follow, the rest will kind of just naturally follow, because they're like, they look at it as like, if those people followed that guy, then maybe they know something I don't know. And then they all just follow along. And it's actually just interesting to hear what the game was like back then. Guides were harder. Skype communication. PF didn't exist. So no server transfers. No cross-world parties. And if you had too much gil, the GMs thought you were RMTing and would just delete it. Oh my god. Maybe they had proof that some people were cheating with their gil, and that's why they deleted it. I feel like the old grandpa talking about walking to school in the snow uphill. When we talk about old Final Fantasy XIV things. I never knew the preparation that goes into this. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this Final Fantasy XIV drama story. If you have any of your own drama stories that you'd like me to share and read out anonymously, feel free to reach out to my Discord, discord.gg/Pathra.